The voice of Husker Nation on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
If you could give a message to Husker Nation fans about what they can expect from you and this team and what they're going to bring to the table, what would that be?
Buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride.
We are buckled. It is the season opener. It is Nebraska. It is UTEP, and we're here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P as welcome to Husker Football 2024. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbal, great to have you in as we are set. Fellas, we made it. We got here. We've made it through spring. We've made it through summer conditioning. And just based on the amount of red around town, folks bellied up at the bar here at the Single Barrel, they are working on their fall conditioning when it comes to Cornhead Lager, Coors Light, and whiskey, 200 to choose from here at the Single Barrel intake. Meanwhile, Kranak and I are nursing coffee like old men at 11:32 Central Standard Time. Mr. Kranak, good to be with you, man. Another season. How we doing?
Uh-oh, Mark's mic not connected. I don't think your mic is connected.
Well, how about now?
We have had 7 false starts. I pray to God this is not an omen for the opener today.
See, there's this mute button on this microphone, and if you have it pressed, you won't be able to hear me. I've just learned this. That's good. It's my first show. This is my first show, so I didn't really know how to operate this thing. But this one came up quick, didn't it? Like, I do feel like I do feel like with as much as has been going on with NIL, with transfer portal, with staff comings and goings, with with conference realignment, there is so much that happens in the off season, and thank God for it, that it really does bridge that gap more so than normal. Like, I just feel like even a few years ago, you would basically hit, I don't know, May, like around May timeframe, all the way through July until Big Ten Media Days was just kind of quiet and not a lot going on. Right. And so you felt that gap until the next season, and it felt like a slog. Whereas this one feels like it just crept up on us. And here it is. Like, there is an actual game today. And it's wild. It's so welcome.
KG is in. We will get our starting 5 shout outs as you're in the stream. We're stream only here till noon. At high noon, we go stream and then live on KFOR Now, taking you up to about 1:30. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, will be by at 12:15. Brandon Vogel from Counter Reed at 1 o'clock as KG checks in. Can you bring that back up? Sorry, I was getting to that. You have Mark is a gym rat. He's a grinder, student of the game, the glue guy, leader in the locker room, coach's son. I think we forgot motor. We've got just an insatiable motor with Mark Kranak.
I believe I was just called White. I think is basically what happened. This is true. Appreciate you, KG. Now into whale watching. That's good.
Speaking of people who really embody that, I embarked upon my 3rd annual watching of Rudy before the Husker football season starts last night. Okay. So I watched Rudy yet again. Fantastic movie. Nothing gets you in the spirit of college football more than that movie, I would argue. So inspiring. The most ultimate underdog story, Rudy. And one thing kind of stuck with me, and this is an aside. We'll get to Husker football here in a second. I just had to bring this up. Can we talk about the halfback pass late in that game? There's 20 seconds on the clock. And the coach, Divine, he's
Dan Divine.
Yeah, he is kind of vilified for being angry about this halfback pass. Like Notre Dame isn't up 17-3 with 20 seconds on the clock. Like he's angry on the sideline and everyone's chanting Rudy and they're all mad at the coach. Like, oh, like, and then he's mad that they called a halfback pass by themselves. Like, wouldn't you be mad? Like that's some Deion Sanders level clock management stuff right there. Like, oh, you can run the clock out. No, we're going to go deep. I don't know. It's just an aside that I was sitting there watching the movie thinking about, like, yeah, no, he was right to be mad about that. It's a bad look for him. A, he's running up the score on Georgia Tech late in a game that doesn't matter. And B, like, he's trying to win football games. His job is on the line here. What happens if Georgia Tech intercepts the halfback pass or knocks the ball out? Like, if Rudy's able to tackle that running back in practice, some Georgia Tech defender can. He goes down, like the fumble's out, Georgia Tech returns it for a touchdown. It's a high-risk, low-reward play, and I just wanted to throw that out there. The movie totally vilifies the head coach whenever he did nothing wrong.
I feel like Peter Griffin, when he was when he admitted that he had never watched or that he did not like The Godfather, and they had the whole like 10 minutes on that. I've never seen Rudy. Don't have a clue about what you're talking about.
He doesn't like it.
I've not seen.
I'm still waiting for Georgia Tech to put a 2-minute drive together, and Rudy being the problem on defense and the bust. I love walk-on players. I love players. We'll spend time with Joel Makovica next week with Buff Hate Week. That being said, walk-ons are incredible. They are the backbone of Nebraska football. Rudy was just too romanticized, and I just got wore out by it. I'm sorry. Yeah. I wanted Georgia Tech to pull off the win.
And Nolan writes, Mark, that doesn't surprise me. So that's either a comment on me just being blissfully unaware of a lot of things, or that he understands the reason why I don't is because it's about Notre Dame, dude, and I'm not supporting them, and I'm not supporting him. It's just, I'm not doing it. If it was Nebraska, I'd watch it. But Notre Dame, like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to intentionally spend time watching Notre Dame, ever.
It rubs you wrong because it is Notre Dame, and that's the reality of it. And just didn't think it was that good a movie. Dad crying in the stands because his son got in, and spurred on by the death of a friend at a steel mill in Gary, Indiana. Good for you getting out of the steel mills, son, but you ended up doing time in federal prison.
Yeah, right.
Much later in life, let's lay that out.
Still, it's club fed. That isn't cool.
Was it fraud? Is that what he went to jail for?
Possibly, maybe some tax stuff, because there was a Rudy speaking circuit forever once the movie came out and beyond. Our friend Jerry DiNardo played ball with him.
How about think about it this way? Rudy fell into a life of white-collar crime, which wouldn't have been possible without a Notre Dame degree. He's blue-collar to his core. He's not getting into white-collar crime if he doesn't go to Notre Dame. It's an underdog story.
Yeah. How to start a Ponzi and be rich, and then get your expenses paid for 18 months. We're here at Single Barrel.
Getting a lot of crap in the stream that nobody's wearing Husker gear.
Some of us are going to be in the press box.
Yeah, you still subscribe to that whole thing of like, when you're a journalist, you have to be unbiased, and there's no cheering for the team or rooting. You
just can't roll into the stadium with your red number 1 foam finger.
That's probably
they frown upon that.
I am wearing the Hail Varsity Radio quarter zip. How about that?
You got yours, huh? What's that like?
It's a little warm for today. I won't lie. Because I'm also wearing pants because I'm going to be professional.
Thank you.
Not going to wear shorts in the press box. I thought about it long and hard with the weather. Probably shouldn't do that. So
is that a thing now too? You can't wear shorts in the press box?
Yes, you can.
You can. It's just like it's a professionalism thing in my eyes. It's like you don't wear shorts to a wedding.
Well, no.
Yeah, you do.
This isn't a wedding. This isn't a wedding. If you got great calves, you flaunt them. You show them.
Let's get our starting. Let's do our starting 5. Shout out says Rick was hit at 7:03. God bless you. We put out a tweet last night, Rick, at 11:30 flex schedule. But appreciate you, Rick. Crazy Spider Adventures in. Andrew is here, or was here. Dylan checks in. We've got a slew of folks that got in at 7 a.m., and I hope you're still hanging tight. Charles in. Says Christmas morning, GBR. Dylan is here. Brent, along with NU Grandpa. Eat beef. We made it, boys. Tuck is here. KG checked in. He thought he'd be first. Cliff from Florida. Cliff, good to be with you. And we love having Cliff check in. Sexy Grinch crew in at 10 a.m. We have a new name. Elijah's Little Feet. We're back, boys.
I wear size 12s, thank you.
Exactly. How much would it take, Elijah, to take your shoe off for the folks that are interested? I mean, what type of tip are we talking about here? Because you're welcome to financially contribute to the Hail Varsity Weekend Show. Do you have a number? Ben comes in with some reality. No one wants to see Elijah's feet. Nolan is here. Brent back in. Jason is here. Said 11:34. That's the time he thought we'd get going. We actually were on time today. NASCAR Eric in, which is good to spend time with him. Walter from Philly says Pat McAfee's annoying. Vic, if you ain't first, you're last. Vic was in at 11:06 along with the real Matthew. Vic, good to have you. We hope you're here for Colorado next week. Jordan is in. Anyone else excited and a little nervous at the same time? Larry is here. Tyler checks in along with Jack. And Kevin in Texas says 42-13 Big Red. Give us your score predictions today. Rule of the day is in as well. Dion, good to have you back, Dion. Dion, welcome back to it. Nick here, along with the other Dave. Ty says go Big Red from Scotts Bluff. Melissa, also in from Scotts Bluff. James is here, and we'll get to more of your comments. Where do you side today, fellas? Let's get there. Elijah went through with his game day tradition or his college football tradition. Every year, Elijah, you watch Rudy before the first game of the season, the Friday night before going into Saturday. But nervous or excited, and yes is the answer for a lot of Nebraska fans. But I'm probably going to lean more excited. I'm for the first time in a long time, and I can't tell you logically why, I'm just going to lean more towards it's okay to be excited. And this is the year that this football team, this head coach, these seniors that came back do away with the nervousness. It's not that there's not going to be tense moments of college football. There's not going to be tense moments or pucker factors in the fourth quarter. There will be. But I think they rise up. I don't know that they'll be perfect. I don't know that they're not going to have a tight ball game go the wrong way. But I think they're going to be a far cry from the last year or two or several of how they did it to themselves. They weren't ready for the moment. I think that's, we talk about all the things that can be in 2024. If you're a Nebraska fan, I think that step forward, Kranak, is Nebraska handling their business in the tense moments. That's got to be the signature of this 2024 season. Whatever the record ends up being, whatever may come in against Colorado or this opener against UTEP or Rutgers or SC or Wisconsin or Iowa or Ohio State, it has to be Nebraska responding to the moment in adversity, and they're going to have chances to do it this year. Do they kind of put up and shut up that noise of not being able to handle tense moments that's plagued a lot of these guys that have put the work in to be good in the fourth quarter?
You said it perfectly.
So did I just nothing?
There's nothing to add. No, you just said it perfectly. You said it better than I could.
Yeah.
That's what this year's going to be about. I froze for a little bit. Forgive me here. Am I back? Am I Han Solo-ish?
Yeah,
you're good. I just thought Mark.
Yeah, we got you.
Stats, so I thought he was going to jump in next, and I was.
Well,
So
and
yeah.
I was, but I missed a little part of Chris Friesen. But anyways, let's get back to it. What I was trying to find was the game by game scores over the past, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, just to count how many 1-score games and 1-score losses there have been. Like, how many 1-score games and how many of those are losses?
It's on standby for every TV graphic because it's going to come up until they stop it, you know?
But it really is a ludicrous amount that Nebraska fans have endured, probably historically so, right? Like, I don't know if anybody spent the time to go back through and be like, you know, what is the all-time record in a 5-year span for losing by 1 score or less? If it's not a record, it's got to be damn close, right? And so that's, you know, and that's the whole reason why they put together the, the Chasing 3 title for the little Hard Knocks kind of knockoff video series that the universities put out is, they have been so close. They have been so close. And God, you just want to see something that is, you just want to leave no doubt, right? Like, leave no doubt occasionally. Nebraska has been, in the past 5 or so years, probably one of the biggest underperformers in college football. I think before a couple years ago, you could throw Texas in there, and historically they've been kind of like that too, just in terms of resources, recruiting, schedule, on and on and on. Nebraska's they have been better positioned to have a much better record than they've been able to put out. It's just been, and I think what makes it even more difficult is for those of us that grew up on Nebraska football. They have been historically the consummate overperformer, right? Really outkicking your coverage, really like doing things that kind of don't make sense, right? For Nebraska to be this much of a player with, the population and recruiting difficulties that come along with that, for them to historically just be that overperforming program, to then just transitioning quickly into the most underperform. Like, can we just get something in the middle, right? like you don't need to be the most overperforming program that's competing for playoffs like this year. But don't be the one that's like doing the least with the most. And that's what Nebraska's been defined by. Going back to Riley, right? Even going back to the end of Bo Pelini.
And Mark, is that like one of the things I was wrestling with last night? Like, what is that thing that's keeping you up to start this Husker football season? Is that it for you, Nebraska's tendency to underperform given the talent?
I still feel like Nebraska's margin for error. I feel like Nebraska has bolstered their skill positions. I feel good about. I mean, you have 4 running backs that could get the job done. Are any of them Heisman? Maybe not, right? But 4 good backs. I think you have probably 8-9 receivers. I think you have a pair of tight ends. Actually, probably 3 if you include Lindenmeyer. And then you're just bringing in this other cat from LSU out of nowhere, so he's going to bolster. So I feel like Nebraska is good, but they are thin at a couple really important positions: left tackle, quarterback. I mean, you like where Nebraska's at quarterback wise, starting wise. You think you've never seen the guy take a snap in a real college game, but knock on wood, something happens to Raiola. I just feel like they still have a little bit of a thin margin for error. And that's what worries me more than anything, is that an injury in a key spot could literally be the difference between a bowl and not. And I just want Nebraska to get to the point to where a bowl game is just happening no matter what, right? It's sort of like the degree to which, like, are we talking 6 or 7 wins, or are we talking 10 or 11, right? Like, I want that to be the range, not all the way down to 3 or 4 wins. Like, that floor needs to come up. the floor needs to come up. And I think until you bolster your roster a little bit more at a couple key spots, specifically left tackle and quarterback, it's going to be dicey.
And I think if you're sitting at a point on this Saturday morning where you are completely unconcerned, you don't have that little thought in the back of your mind, like, man, what if everything goes wrong today? I don't think you're truly a Husker fan. I don't think you've watched the past 10 years. I think it's natural to have that little bit in the back of your mind. Like what I was laying in bed thinking about last night, like, man, we've been confident in Raiola through the summer, through fall camp, confident in him all week long. But then you get to game day and like, it is different to get out there in front of 90,000 people. Like all the reports I've heard out of practice, out of fall camp, is that Dylan Raiola, head and shoulders, best guy in the quarterback room. But it's different to step out there in front of 90,000 people. It's different to do it whenever this is what you've wanted to do since you were 6 years old. And now you have the emotions of running through the tunnel and being out on that turf for real this time in front of 90,000 people. I don't care who the opponent is. That's a big moment for an 18-year-old kid. And that's the thing that I'm laying in bed thinking about. Like, I have confidence in the defense. I have confidence in the added talent. I have confidence that Dylan Raiola beat out Harburg. I think he's an upgrade at quarterback. But the great unknown, as I sit here on a Saturday morning, is, man, what does Dylan do in front of 90,000? Because this is something, I know he's been the acclaimed guy. I know he's been in the limelight since he's like 16 years old. But it's still different to run out there and play live in front of 90,000 people whenever, you know, everybody's watching. You know, this is what you've been dreaming about since you were a little kid.
It's Elijah Herbal, Mark Kranak, Chris Schmidt, weekend edition. Hail Varsity Radio, getting you ready. Our pregame in front of Nebraska-UTEP. We're here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P. Make it your pregame headquarters. Real Red Reaction follows after Nebraska-UTEP as the Iron Horse. There have been trumpets blaring. He makes his way. Happy game day, Sharpie. There he is. But I'll say this. You mentioned the reality of, you know, the moment if you're a true freshman, Elijah, and it is okay to be concerned about that. You know, can you handle the stage? But I'll say this, you go get a guy like Dylan because he's really been groomed for it. And just his orbit has been pro preparation. That is something I think you can take comfort in, why he is a different dude. And he may not have some of the pitfalls or the missteps that normal, air quote, normal freshmen have. The thing that you just want in life is consistency. The thing you want if you're a football fan is the same, and absolutely if you're a head football coach. And that comes down to being clean, being confident, being physical. Well, you can check the box of being physical. Matt Rule has a physical football team. You're working on checking the box of being confident. That comes next week when you get a team in prime time, but you can build up some of that confidence with a good performance today on the stage. Can you be clean? Nebraska's not been clean when it comes to a penalty here or there, or for sure the turnovers. The thing that I want to see today, guys, is a comfortable quarterback, yes. But Elijah, Kranak, it's going to come down to a kick several times this year. And how big a bleep show is that going to be for Nebraska? Because you've got two kickers. You've got one that's coming back from injury. Who the hell knows how his consistency's been this fall camp? I mean, that is a concern because you got somebody that has needed to improve on it, and who knows if he has going into year two in Elvano, and you've got Hull that was in JUCO last year. It's got the talent, but he's not done it before. So kicking to me, man, it sounds stupid and boring. It's like we're talking Iowa football, but no, you want to jump up to be in a discussion in November. You're gonna have to make a kick or two, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, and with what I've heard the last week from Matt Rule, like usually at this point in fall camp, right before your first game, what are you doing? You're trying to instill confidence in your kicker, because psyche is so important to a kicker. Going out there and before you tee off, if you will, before you kick that thing through, you know it's going to go through before you even step foot on that field. Like that's a big thing for kickers, having that confidence, having that self-belief. Not confidence instilling for Matt Rule to step up in front of the media on Thursday and say, yeah, we're going with two kickers actually. Like, we don't trust Alvano to do the long stuff. We don't trust Hull to do the short stuff, so we're going to roll with both of them. That's like the reading between the lines feel that I get, that's not standard operating procedure for a football team with how they handle their kicker before a first game. Like, nothing about that comment from Rule sounded to me like he was confident in what those kickers bring. It's a concern to me. I don't think, let's be honest, with what UTEP brings to the field, I know you have that pit in your stomach of like, what if everything goes wrong? I still don't think this is a game where even if a whole bunch goes wrong for Nebraska, they're going to be truly like in a battle late in the fourth quarter. I think they have the edge there. But if kicking's bad, as Schmitty said, there's going to be a lot of games this year that come down to a kick or two. I am pretty confident in that. And if it's not good, man, that's the type of thing that could take you from a 9-3 football season to a 6-6 football season, is not having the right kicker in place.
We welcome in the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, on site with us here at the Single Barrel. Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt, as weekend edition rolls forward. Happy football, Big Cat.
Happy football, boys. It is a glorious day outside in Lincoln, Nebraska. It is warm. It is not, San Jose State warm?
No.
Isn't that the warmest opener ever back in the late 90s? I've already, in my trip into the stadium, Kranik and Schmidt, you'll get this. I've heard somebody reminiscing about their time that they were at the reunion drinking beer when that used to exist on campus.
Yes.
It was by where the softball field used to be. Yeah.
Kind of by the track.
And then I met somebody who was talking about something I said a long time ago about the Denny's that used to be across the street from Memorial Stadium.
I remember the Big Red Shop.
Yeah, there used to be a Denny's right across the street from Memorial Stadium. So we are back, baby. We are back.
Where across the street? Which side of the stadium are we talking here?
Okay, so
West. So you know where there's the Lincoln Journal-Star building, and then there was, before they moved all that stuff out of there to build the hotel. There was another little smaller building. I don't know, it was Alumni Association or something.
Might have been.
That's where the Denny's used to be. This is like back in the mid-'90s. I think it might have been gone by 95, 96, something in there.
I didn't arrive till 96, and I remember the reunion being just down the hall from down the road from Abel.
Yeah.
I remember all the trips down 17th when it went straight through to Devaney. You park in a gravel lot, it's 4 degrees, and you go watch Norm Stewart scream at Danny Nee. It was glorious. And then I didn't make the Denny's cutoff line.
Yeah.
And way back in the day, there used to be kind of a area on O Street where there was a Taco Bell and a McDonald's downtown.
Oh, yeah?
Remember? Yeah. This was when I was probably a junior high kid or even a younger than that. But, yeah, things have changed because now you've got the setup across from the stadium with the Champions Club. You've got oodles of parking. But, yeah, I still have my red Nebraska basketball champion shorts I'd wear to the rec that I bought at the Big Red Shop the day before it closed. 40% off, Sharpie.
Speaking of things that used to be downtown, can I say I still miss Rock and Roll Runza?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, that was a unique place.
It closed
no one
when I
ever
was
went.
a child. It was cool as a child, and I don't know, went away.
Well, I mean, I think if we're going to be old school here, those of us that know, we miss the downtown Amigos.
Oh, yeah.
Which the building is still up and it's boarded up and nothing has come in there. But that was the special place. So a couple of people that will always stand out about that Amigos. I know there were a couple of incidents involving Nebraska athletes, but Woody, the sheriff, would always be in there running security.
Best dude.
And then, rest in peace, former Danny Nee assistant Jimmy Williams.
Mm-hmm.
When the bars closed at 2, Jimmy would get in his car and he'd drive to downtown Lincoln. He would set up shop at the Amigos. He would take care of every student athlete that came in there. He'd buy their meal. Now, it was illegal back then, but no one was like, Coach Williams. That was like Jimmy. Jimmy would stay there, and any athlete that came in after 2, he'd hook them up with free Amigos.
I remember back in my early college years, after morning classes, when I had a little gap, I'd go be a fat ass and get myself an order of biscuits and gravy and a donut. It was fantastic.
That's so good. That is so
Probably
good.
Like a 1,500 calorie breakfast right there. It was glorious.
We're not judging. Speaking of breakfast, 7 a.m. every day here at the Single Barrel. Their biscuits and gravy here are junior approved. Carson loves him some biscuits and gravy from the Single Barrel. Dad loves the whiskey that I can get here at the Single Barrel. 200 to choose from. steaks that will outdo what you can do on the grill, and that's not a shot at you. That's how good they are here at the Single Barrel. As Cranack is resetting, Gary Sharp with us, the Iron Horse, Elijah Hertel, Chris Schmidt is about 5 minutes away. We'll be on the good old airwaves of KFOR as we'll go from stream. We'll be dual threat, stream and over the air. William checking in from Austin, Texas. We've got folks in from Columbus, Nebraska. CK Cash 26, shout out to you for checking us out. Elijah, how are we coming on the flag pictures? Because we've had 3 or 4 folks send in their flags. My neighborhood, old Jimbo down the road, my neighbor was out there in his red Husker shirt putting the big red flag up. And I know my mom is camping at a campsite. One of the RVs that they're parked near has a giant TV set up, and they're going to satellite this thing in around 2:30 to get rolling. So pretty good for football. Flag from Cliff flying in Florida. Eric shaking his head at our professionalism, not wearing red into the press box. I like you, NASCAR, Eric. I like it. Pretty good. Sharpie, you can't roll in with the foam finger and the face paint.
No. You can tell the rookies that come into cover Nebraska football in the press box, they are dressed head to toe in Husker gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gary,
James is here.
Let me ask the question. How do you feel about shorts in the press box? I had a big decision to make today. You guys both wearing shorts?
You know what? I think we should be professional and wear pants all the time, right, Schmitty?
Yeah, next year. Next year.
I had a big decision. I'm like, I think I'm going to go utmost professional. It's pants, but they are like a nicer looking pair of jeans. So it's somewhere in between. I didn't want to get like,
all right.
I was going dress pants. I thought it'd be a little more professional than shorts. Maybe I'm wrong there.
It's going to be too hot today to wear pants. I'll show off the golf pants later in the fall. Gray Woman 79 says GBR, y'all, LFG. Good for you, Gray Woman. Thanks for checking us out. Tiger Shark is here as Mark Cranack is back on a 2017 computer.
That's the deal. That is the deal. It is time to upgrade. Yeah.
I love it. I tried to borrow Junior's new Apple and Junior's new iPad and got told to go to hell. He is at Lazari's from 11 till 9.
Oh.
So
I imagine after 6 he might be rather busy.
I think he's busy. I think they're going to get hammered. Well, okay, let me rephrase. I think he's going to be slinging quite a bit of pizza today.
I will tell you that productivity in this state will stop at about 2:30. I think just judging by the traffic coming down from Omaha and then the people that are already in the parking lots, there's a lot of anticipation. I have a sense of hope as I meander my way through tailgate lots and over here to the Single Barrel.
Sharpie, let's dive into that hope a little bit, and we can kind of touch on the hope card. Dylan says, buckle it up. Going to be a fun ride. I believe him when he says that, but there's a lot of things that give you hope. My hope card is quarterback coach combo, right? I mean, you've got that. You've got development as an emphasis. If you're a Nebraska football fan, that's wonderful. You got a defense that's loaded in returns, and you've got a schedule that is too much being made of, Nebraska's got a manageable or easy schedule. It's still loaded with some pitfalls.
Gary, can you save that thought? We're going to take a quick break here to get us into our on-air coverage coming here in about 60 seconds. So hold that thought. Let's reset that for after the break. Just a quick 60-second break.
Time out.
You have 2 left.
That's good. More with Weekend Edition. Hail Varsity continues. Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. Like and subscribe. Back shortly.
You know what brand sells the most work shoes in America? Skechers. Why? Well, for starters, Skechers has the best-looking safety toe and slip-resistant shoes around. They've got superior quality and simply incredible prices. But many people get them just for the style. Skechers work shoes come in a variety of modern looks. They even make work shoes in athletic styles, so you can enjoy tough, steel-toed protection and slip-resistant soles anywhere, even if you don't need them for work. In short, their work shoes give you the best of fashion and function. And since they're Skechers, you know they're going to be comfortable with Skechers' exclusive air-cooled memory foam. Now, you might think you'd have to pay a lot for all that, but you'll be surprised just how affordable Skechers durable work shoes are. So when it comes to safety and style, go with America's #1 selling work shoes and put Skechers to work. Find your new pair of Skechers safety toe and slip-resistant work shoes at a Skechers store, at Skechers.com, or wherever work shoes are sold.
Hi, this is Jason Ball, President and CEO of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. I want to tell you briefly about a new business in collaboration with the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. CareerPathway.com is a website that gives employers a new way to look for talent to fill jobs and information to students about career opportunities and training. This tool was created by local entrepreneur Bo Jones and is now available for free for students and employers. It's not just a job search site. CareerPathway.com helps companies share real-world career knowledge with students and job seekers to find their path to success. This partnership has been supported by the City of Lincoln, Lincoln Public Schools, Southeast Community College, and the American Job Center of Lancaster and Saunders counties, and many local Lincoln businesses. For more information for job seekers or for businesses looking to get involved.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Great to have you in. This is really the second half. We've been streaming for about 30 minutes or so. Let's touch gloves, have a good ball game, and get ready for the second half. Weekend edition is here. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbal, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp with us to get things going. High noon or a little past. It is Nebraska. It is UTEP. UTEP's got some big dudes on the interior. Nebraska has got some big dreams for 2014. Guys, we've touched on the hope factor for Nebraska football in 2024, and there's a lot riding on this second season. Momentum-wise, Nebraska has plenty of momentous opportunity with 4 home games for the first time in a while. You start at home. Been waiting on this, if you're a big Red fan, for 5 years to get a home game and get some momentum going on, some springboard. We were talking about some of the sights and sounds of Lincoln back in the day, be it the reunion, the old Amigos, the Deddies. I mean,
Winning football.
with some game day haunts, sweep left.
Wow.
You know,
P.O. Bears.
Yes, POs. Give me the Jiffy Burger. Is that the bacon and peanut butter, right?
They still serve that, by the way, at Stella's in Bellevue. They don't call it the Jiffy Burger, but peanut butter is a regular topping that you can add.
Free shout out.
Yes, get some whiskey here at the Single Barrel. Get a beer, get a Diet Coke, get some lunch, eat. You'll love it. Their breakfast is unbeaten as well, biscuits and gravy. But guys, we'll get some college football scoreboard numbers here coming up. But thanks to all of you in the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. And we'll take you till 1:30. Be back for Real Red. The hope topic, Sharpie. We'll go around the horn on this, but you've got a quarterback, you've got a coach, you've got starters, you've got a coordinator, you've got a schedule. Let's go to that schedule card. Is it being poo-pooed a little bit?
No, I mean, like Nebraska's had advantages that have been given to them. They just haven't taken advantage of them, if that makes sense. Nebraska football, there's a lot to like because they're different. I mean, I think people that saw them in the spring game, if you've gotten a chance to watch them here in the camp or when you watch them today, they're different. There's a different vibe. They have more depth. They have more options. I think they have more confidence. But until they prove me otherwise, and this isn't, I don't want to come off as a negative here, guys. I think they're a 5-7 football team and a program that hasn't been to a bowl game in 7 years until I see otherwise. And that might take a half here today. It might take a month. But I think that mindset will do you well when you carry that mindset to say, you know what, it's different. We turn the corner. We look different. We act different. We play differently. And I think that's been the goal. I mean, I don't think all of us that have spent time talking about it, we've talked about, man, they could be. I think they've done a really good job, and I don't know what you guys think, of saying, no, we can't. We have to be 1-0, and then we'll talk about the next game. And I think that's been a good mindset with this team, because I think this team is more mature to handle that kind of stuff. When a head coach says things about, I like this team, we could be a great team, we're a good team, we have to find out how to be a great team, I think they're mature enough to handle that. And then when he says, basically, it's Matt Rule's no fear of failure, that we're going to be on the attack and there is all gas, no brakes with a freshman quarterback. I think you can say that when your team is a little bit more mature, and that's why I think they'll be able to take the step forward because I think they have good culture, leadership, and they're a mature football team.
Yeah, and Gary, I think on top of that, it's outside of left tackle and quarterback, which we covered last segment. The depth is there across the board to where you can afford to have very physical practices and to tackle, right? And I think it's just been really a long time. I think you have to go back to probably early years of Pelini, where there was a true commitment to doing that. And at the end of the day, football is a violent, tough sport. Nebraska can win if they're sort of just all speed or whatever, but that's probably not the best formula. Like you better be here with the weather and with everything else and with the access to local talent that you have. You better be physical. You better be tough. You better be very comfortable with contact, right? Which sounds so basic, but we've seen so many times over the last decade where there are literally players on the field playing that are not comfortable with contact. And it's just like, that was something in Nebraska's glory days. And you can talk all you want about, oh, it's different back then because, every game, Nebraska was on TV. They had all these advantages. Sure. But there were zero wussies on the field. None. That doesn't mean they were great. Doesn't mean they were like the best players, but nobody was scared of contact. Like nobody. If you just watch even some of the later Frank Solich years, like even when Nebraska was getting bludgeoned by like K-State at home or whatever, Nebraska was hitting you. They were hitting. I do feel like they have finally, I think Matt Rule has reinstilled that into the culture. And that is so promising. I mean, that alone will get you a little bit farther than normal. And then on top of that, I think we're about to get our first look at a genuine sort of classic quarterback that I don't think Nebraska has seen really since Zach Taylor and Joe Gans, right? And those two guys, for as heady as they were and for as good of leaders as they were pretty limited physically, and nothing stands out more to me than the Big 12 championship game in Kansas City against Oklahoma, where late in the game, Zach Taylor threw a pick, but it wasn't because he made a wrong decision or whatever. It's just he literally didn't have the arm strength to complete that ball against a corner that had very good athletic ability, and that's why it got picked. It wasn't because he didn't know what was going on or anything like that. He just didn't have the physical ability to land that throw, and that's why he never made it in the NFL. But you take Raiola would already be right now, like literally in the top 5 to 10 in terms of pure arm strength in the effing NFL. And that is not hyperbole. That, like in terms of just pure ability, he's got that. If he can marry that with some of the headiness of a Gans or a Taylor, look out. And if you look at his senior year stats, granted it's high school, totally get that. But a high level of football in Georgia where, he had 20 some teammates that got Division I scholarships, right? They're playing pretty high level competition. 33 touchdowns, 1 interception. 1. So that's you do not, and by the way, and like 2,800 yards or something, or 3,000 yards. So it wasn't like it was just all dink and dunk. But that just tells you that you have a quarterback that is not going to force stuff that's not there, is going to throw it away when he needs to, has a deep understanding of where to go with the ball and the ability to get it there. Doesn't mean he's going to have 33 touchdowns and 1 pick this year, and college is different than high school, of course. But Nebraska hasn't had a dude like that since Gans, since Taylor.
Well,
Just haven't had it.
My questions with Dylan Raiola are not physical. It's not can he make the throw. It's not does he have the arm talent. My questions with him are not physical. I've seen enough tape of Dylan Raiola and seen enough from him at Nebraska's pro day in the spring or the little bits coming out of fall camp. I don't have questions about the physical. It's all the mental. It's in a game like this, can he mentally handle the emotions of playing in front of 90,000 people? Because I don't even have questions about his preparation either. We've heard enough from Roll. We've heard enough from him about, hey, he's texting Coach Rule during fall camp, I need to stay past curfew because I'm still in the football facility getting my prep in for the season. Like, I don't have questions about that. It's all about handling the emotions. Handling, you know what? It might sound physical, but I think it's mental. How do you handle that first big hit from a college defensive lineman? Like that 290-pound guy that's coming to take your head off, that's been training for 4 years to do so. How do you handle that first big hit? How do you handle your first bit of adversity in front of 90,000 people? Those are the questions I have for him. It's not physical. It's not him playing the quarterback position. It's mental with him. Those are my questions. How does he handle those? Those are the unknowns coming into this one.
So sorry, Chris, just real quick. So because I hear you, Elijah, but if you were to put money on it, if you were to say, if it was like you had to choose right now, right? Do you put money on Raiola is more likely to be the guy that we think he is, or that he would be a bust? Like if you were to put money on it right now, you were forced to do that. Yeah, $100 right now. The dude's gonna get the job done, or nope, going to be a bust in the mental department. Where do you land?
Well, bust comes down to expectations. So that's a little hard for me to say. Like
bust can come down to coaching as well. Do you put him in position to succeed? Do you develop him?
Well, I mean, like, if Dylan Raiola is going to be a solid starter for 4 years of college football but never sniff a hype?
3.
Are you calling that a bust?
Well,
like, the expectations are the big thing with bust because, like, a first rounder in the NFL can go out and perform for a couple years like a third rounder. We call him a bust, but like the third rounder is out there, he's not a bust. Like, it's
okay, maybe not bust. And all right, let's change the semantics then, because I think we're talking semantics here. So if you had to put money on Dylan Raiola will be able to handle the moments over time, or Dylan Raiola will not be able to handle the moments, where are you putting your money?
We'll be able to handle the moments. And it's because of what I said about the physical side of things. And physically, he can do the things that you need a quarterback to do more than anybody else I've seen throw on a Husker uniform stepping in as a true freshman in my lifetime. Like,
so
he starts at such a higher place.
I want to put this into baseball, basketball, football term, really kind of any sport. The intangible that he has that I think is going to help him so much. And this is going to be a little extreme, but just bear with me here. Think about like Ken Griffey Jr. back in the day, right? He grew up around Major League Baseball. He was exposed to it at the highest levels from the time the kid could walk, right? And so like it was never too big for him. It was never too big. By the time he got his shot, the dude was more than ready because he didn't view the major leagues as some sort of unattainable thing. Barry Bonds, kind of similar, right? So that's in baseball. Basketball, think of Steph Curry, right? Like Papa Del Curry had the quickest release of anybody, right? And so it was never too big for him. Nobody else saw it. He was a late bloomer. He got picked up by Davidson, right? And then he killed it there. And then now you see what he is. Raiola's got that intangible too, where, dude, he grew up throwing balls with Matthew Stafford. He grew up watching his dad be an all-pro level center on the sidelines, right? He grew up, he's in high school, him and his little brother, while the rest of us were out like freaking playing stickball, they're training with Patrick Mahomes. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
let's be honest. We were trying to get juvenile charges.
Right. So I guess just the thing is that I just feel like it doesn't mean every game's going to go great. He's going to have a bad game, but I don't think it's going to be too big for him. I just think he's just sort of like, I think he's already got his sights set on the NFL, where he's just like,
there's normalcy. He's got normalcy at the pro level.
I mean, what Mark was laying out and his background, I mean, he was built, whether he was at Georgia or Nebraska, for these moments. I mean, he went to the school of quarterbacking.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska, for the first time in the Elite 11 7-on-7 era, have a real quarterback, a quarterback that plays quarterback, that looks like a quarterback, understands quarterback. I don't worry about any of the handling of the emotion and all that stuff. You know why, guys? Because since he showed up here, his EKG is a straight line. He does not go up and down. He is a normal kid that doesn't want the spotlight, that just blends in with the team, but he leads from the front, not the middle or the back. So I think when things get tight, and they will, and he's going to battle some adversity, he's going to be hit harder over the course of the next month than he's ever been hit in his life before. Yeah. So how does he respond to that, the physical part of it? And then also the processing of people throwing stuff at him that he's not seen. So he's going to have to, I don't think he'll have to master the part of the mental quarterback. I think he's already done that. It's just going to be the part of the quarterback that comes with a young kid growing into a man's game. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm not putting a ton of expectations on him this year where, oh my God, he has to be all conference or whatever. That will come, but he's the real deal. I've seen enough, and especially here in August, he's the real deal. I mean, Nebraska's got themselves something. I wish Rule the other day would have said, guys, we got one. We got a real quarterback, and show how giddy he is, because he is, but he couches it a little bit. And I can't wait for people to see him today, because this kid's ready to play. Now they've done a good job of not making – they've learned lessons from other programs where they put a bunch on the plate of the quarterback. They haven't done that at Nebraska. This team can be successful, and Dylan doesn't need to be Superman. He can put the cape on once in a while, but he doesn't need to wear the cape for 12 games. And I think that's a smart play initially by Nebraska to build this roster around him, not say, all right, let's add to Dylan. Let's build it around him. And I think you'll see the fruits of that coming out, especially today with his wide receivers.
Well, you learned the hard way, and it never got better for Adrian Martinez, where he had a little bit of help around him, but, man, he had some freshman moments. And that arrow didn't – and it's not his fault. Super high-level player, but what could have been with some more help and some better coaching at the quarterback spot.
And building a roster. I mean, that starts at the top. I'm looking at Boulder. They got an incredible quarterback. They have put so much on the plate of Shedeur Sanders that they've ignored other elements that look where they are. I think I like what Nebraska did. Nebraska hasn't ignored the other elements that have to go with a very good quarterback. And you know what? And you'd be doing the kid a disservice if he came in and you said, oh, my God, we really don't have anybody. Can you save us? Instead of, and this is how I used this analogy earlier this week, instead of coming in and saying, hey, can you save us? And I still say that Dylan will become the face and the front door to the football program, that people get interested in him, and then they go, boy, they got something going in Lincoln. They're not saying come in and save the program. You know what they're saying to him? It's like when we all have to move and you have to lift a table. Hey, can you grab a corner?
Okay.
We got 3 other guys that are carrying that table, but can you grab a corner?
Yeah, that's a good thought. Let's go to phones real quick. Weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio here at the Single Barrel is where you find us. Get down here, 9th and P inside the Graduate. Hail Varsity YouTube can watch. Also on Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter, KFOR Radio. Tad out in California. Tad, happy game day, partner. Thanks for calling.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, I just wanted to say this, that as an athlete, an elite athlete, going through your life, it's that first hit you get in that game that's just going to gear yourself into the process and what it's going to take. The system that Rule is going to put on that field has got to be a learning experience for your quarterback. It entails the DBs, the defense, it entails those tailbacks. If we can't run the football and we become one-dimensional like last year, we're in for a long season. Thanks, guys.
Tad, be good. Appreciate you. We will address the running back situation after a quick timeout. Hang on tight as we're here with your kickoff. Pregame 2024 is here. It's Nebraska game day and pretty excited.
And
The Big Red and UTEP here on KFOR, KFORnow.com as we bring you the weekend edition of Hail Varsity Radio. Elijah, real quick.
Yeah, quick point there with Tad's phone call. Tad talks about like the preparation of an elite athlete. Let's lay it out. Tad was a first-round pick in the MLB draft back in the 1970s. He knows what he's talking about. So he's a guy who's been there and done that. I just want to lay that out there. It's not just some guy out in California talking about elite athletes like he never did. He was there.
Tad, I love that. Well, I wasn't going to question him as I'm going to take Tad's word for it. It's not like it's me or Kranak saying, well, as an elite athlete, more so me. Kranak, you at least played high school ball. So
JV. JV. Let's be honest. Yeah.
There still hasn't been I guess Uncle Mark made varsity. Bless his soul. Uncle Mark played college baseball. That was good. Quick timeout. We'll dive into the running back situation as we're here at the Single Barrel. 11:30 to 1:30 pregame. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hey, bestie. Whoa, how'd you snag that awesome set of wheels? I'm in the market for a new car, too. My friends at Members Own Credit Union. You're always in the driver's seat when it comes to your finances at Members Own. Always in the driver's seat, huh? Yep. They set you up with a loan that makes sense for your budget with great rates and top-notch customer service to boot. Looks like we're going to need to make a pit stop. Let's go. I'll drive. Hit the road to financial success and explore auto loan options with your best financial friend, Members Own Credit Union. For details, go to membersowncu.org/drive. Federally insured by the NCUA.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do,
let's play something, Grandma,
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Our lives only have so much time, but if you smoke, you have less. Your life could be 10 years shorter, and the time you do have is often filled with health problems, shortness of breath, asthma, COPD, and cancer. But the minute you quit, your body starts healing.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
During August and September, hummingbirds will pass through Nebraska on their way to the tropics ahead of winter. Be ready with a visit to Wild Bird Habitat, where you'll find the area's largest variety of hummingbird feeders and supplies. Plus, learn how easy it is to attract them. Enjoy the excitement of bringing hummingbirds to your yard. Shop the Wild Bird Habitat stores in the Alamo Plaza, 56th and Highway 2, or north at 4900 Dudley Street. Nebraska's backyard birding centers for 30 years.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a serious heart condition. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. My HCM impacted how I felt and what I could do. So I asked my cardiologist about treatment advances that gave me new options. That conversation was big for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol-Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb.
Here's to the heroes. Here's to those who put in the late nights, who give without expectation. Here's to our teachers, our nurses, our grandparents, and coworkers, to our best friends and our students. Here's to the lives saved, the hands held, and the hearts lifted. Here's to the heroes, great and small, who remind us that it is a good life. I'm Dean Schneider, co-owner of Roper & Sons. On September 27th, we are honoring the heroes around us with recognition and an award at the Hub and Soul Music Series. Nominate your hero by September 20th at roperandsons.com/heroes.
From
Will you marry me?
to I do. There's a lot of planning. And as a business that helps a happy couple create their dream wedding, you can make their journey easy. Reserve a booth at the Lincoln Wedding and Celebration Show, Sunday, January 12th at the Cornhusker Marriott, downtown Lincoln. This event makes planning, finding inspiration, and collecting ideas for the big day simple because it's all in one place.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity Weekend Edition here. Game day, Nebraska-UTEP. We're live at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and PR spot we post up for years and years. Packed house here with folks enjoying lunch. You're invited down to the Single Barrel. Get yourself a burger, get yourself a steak, get yourself a whiskey, a cold beer, water, iced tea, Diet Coke. I mean, it is a menu you need to investigate. Breakfast every morning at 7 a.m. What a buffet they have. Waffles, bacon, eggs, biscuits, and gravy. It's incredible. So get on down here to the Single Barrel. We're here Thursday home football weeks, and then back at it on Saturdays. Chris Schmidt, Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbal, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp with us. Brandon Vogel going to be with us in about 30 minutes from Counter Read. We'll take you up till 1:30 and then be back for Real Red Reaction. That's a digital show on YouTube. Real Red Reaction. Check that out tonight. Salt Dog Baseball going on. We were talking about quarterback play and how Dylan is different. The no fear mentality that's followed through with by Coach Matt Rule. There's the normalcy because of that background and how Dylan was raised and just what he's been around, what he's seen, his life experience, super different in a great way compared to a lot of kids who want to play quarterback at the Division I level. How do you tackle adversity? Let's talk about breaking tackles, the running game, a balanced offense, complementary football, offense, defense, special teams, super important, yes. Run game, vital to what you want to do in the passing game, fellas. And may we see a heavy dose of Mr. Dowdell, the Oregon transfer. There's been some smoke about Dowdell really pushing up the old depth chart released Monday by Coach Rule. Emmett Johnson's done a great job of continuing to get better in Lincoln. But Dowdell could be that special combo of speed, Kranak, and size where you finish off runs. Nebraska has the ability, we think, with the skill set, wide receivers, tight ends. They have all the toys. But when push comes to shove, like Tad touched on, you can't just be fun and gunning it all the time. You need to be able to run the football between the tackles in the Big Ten.
Dowdell, I'm in a very much wait and see mode with him, more so than the other three. And you look at the experience that Nebraska has at the running back position, it is good. It's not great. All right. You're talking a couple guys that have, 400-ish career rushing yards. And how long have we been talking about Gabe Ervin? My God. Like, he was starter in 2021. Am I making that up? Was that 21 or 22?
No, he hurt himself at Oklahoma.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's been a starter. So he has impressed multiple staffs from the get-go, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. So wait and see with him. Don't really know. Ramir, he's also been, injured quite a bit, but I absolutely loved what you saw from him before he got hurt. Playing way above his size, really accelerating, really lowering his pad level, getting north-south, plus having that breakaway speed, which Who knows if he still has that with all of his injuries. But I'm still, I mean, for my money, when I look at the running back position, from what I've seen, I'm Emmett Johnson. I'm in the Emmett Johnson camp firmly as the guy, because I think he has the most complete game. I think he has good size. I think he also has breakaway speed. He hasn't really been able to show it. I think he's a little bit more of a cerebral guy, maybe more so than a natural, instinctive kind of runner. But in some ways, that kind of reminds me a little bit of like Abdullah. I think Abdullah like studied and made himself into a back by figuring out when to delay, when to, ride your blockers, where to cut in and out of, when you have a block. Like Abdullah was so good at that. Like, has anybody ever run the stretch play better than Amir Abdullah? Like, he was incredible at that. Just
one cut
timing.
And
yeah, his timing is but knowing when to do that, right? Like knowing when to just wait, go, right? He really figured that out. And I think if Emmett can add that to his game, to me, that's the guy. If we had to bet right now, that's the guy that's going to have the most rushing yards, injuries aside, obviously.
The thing about Dowdell that I think Matt Rule likes so much, and I'm kind of with you, Mark. I'm a wait and see. Let's see, how did he progress during fall camp? What he turned into in terms of his spring game performance? Like, it was a 5 or a 6 out of 10. The one long run, I think, made the whole day look a little bit better than it was, but you still have to factor that in. He still got a long touchdown, right? I think that's still important. I think the big plus in his favor is he plays the way that a Matt Rule running back, or Matt Rule wants his running backs to play. Like, first off, he runs the football like he's trying to give every defensive back on the field a concussion, and that might not be politically correct to say in the current climate of football, but like, that's how he runs the ball. He wants to dish out concussions. But on top of all that, he has enough speed. He has enough speed to be a breakaway threat. And like, those are the two things Matt Rule wants: a physical runner that runs behind his pads, and you know what? Whenever you need 3, he can get you 4. But also, whenever that hole opens up, you can make that one cut and turn 8 yards into 60. I think Dowdell does both of those things better than anyone in the room. I think Gabe Ervin lacks that explosiveness, that top-end speed to turn 8 yards into 60. Dowdell has it. With Johnson and Johnson, I don't know that they have that physical running style, that dishing out concussion style that Matt Rule wants. Dowdell has both of it, but I still need to see it. Like, I still haven't seen a guy that can do both of them at a high level. Mark, you're giving me a funny look.
Well, the whole thing about him having the breakaway speed in the spring game, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, but that's the reports you hear on him. In the reports you hear out of fall campus, he does have more of that. But I'm with you. I don't think you necessarily saw it aside from that one run in the spring game.
But dude, that was kind of a plotting. Like, that wasn't a dude that was just gone with smoke coming
He got the corner and took it 48.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it
that
didn't
breakaway to me, and it was touch football going, kind of.
So,
I mean, Amani Cross had some 40-plus yard runs. He wasn't breakaway speed. I'm just,
okay. So I agree with you, Mark. I think Emmett Johnson is poised for a big year. I think he is set up really, really well. But Dante Dowdell has had a really good camp and quietly has gone to work because he had to adjust to what they wanted out of him. And I think maybe you took for granted that you wanted me to come into this program because you didn't have much at that position, and then realized that there are guys that are battling for snaps and it's a competition. And I think he was slow to react to that in this first part of spring and then was better at the tail end of spring. He's been very quiet in the offseason. He's had a good fall. I think he's the number 2 running back for Nebraska behind Emmett Johnson. And then I think the situational guy is Ramir, and then the up-in-the-air guy is Gabe. Now, all 4 of them are going to see action. And Nebraska at this point, they don't care who is 1, 2, 3, or 4. They just have to find a way to be able to run the football for about 160 to 170 yards out of the running back position per game, whatever combination that is. But I think Emmett's going to have a really, really good year. And 2 years ago, I was down on Emmett because I was like, man, we just went through a stretch where you went Halou, Burkhead, Amir, and Nebraska can't find a really good running back. And Emmett Johnson is here because Minnesota didn't want him, and Ron Brown had to convince Scott Frost to give him a scholarship. I don't know about this. This might be another guy like a Ronald Tompkins and that run of running backs where Nebraska is fanned on that are here for a cup of coffee and then they're gone. Good on Emmett Johnson. He hung in there, got on the field on special teams, continued to do his work at running back, and got his body in shape. And all of a sudden, he's RB1. That's a credit to him, and Nebraska's going to benefit from it. But also, I think we are going to have to adjust how we look at Nebraska football, guys. And let's start with the running back spot. Nebraska's going to be able to go back to running screens. You have running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield and a quarterback that can play soft pitch and catch. So we're going to look, and we might have to adjust what we think is good offense. Instead of on 3rd down and 4 going, well, you got to be able to line up behind the big boys, the pipeline, and be able to run it. Nebraska might say, hell no. We're going to throw a fade in the end zone from the 5-yard line because that's our most high percentage play. So I think as we go along the season with a different type of quarterback, we're going to have to adjust how we look at how Nebraska plays offense. Again, they still need to run the football, but run the football when they want to run the football, not when they have to run the football. And so we'll see how all those pieces go together. But running backs catching the ball out of the backfield is going to be something that will also be important to this offense.
The overall reality is you're going to be a physical football team. You can still be physical with a good passing game. And
you're going to have physical wide receivers. I mean,
yeah,
there's some big boys. They got some guys that are streaking down the field at 6'3", 220 pounds, or are pinning you up on the edge. Yeah, that's a good point, Schmitty.
It's going to be nice for Nebraska fans to see a passing game be competent and be effective. You'll be able to sprinkle in Harburg with his role, and you're going to have a run game that can go to work on some mismatches along with the tight end room. Real quick from Matt Rule, and sneak in some thoughts from Coach just on that running back picture and what you're looking forward to seeing as a Nebraska fan. Here is kickoff less than 2 hours away. Here's Matt Rule on the running backs.
I think we're going to play them all. Yeah, we're going to play them all. So, we kind of have different rules for all of them. And, Big Ten plays 4 weeks away. So I feel like I was hoping we'd be a little bit more dialed in on where they are. But I feel like they've all competed enough that we're going to give them all a chance and make some decisions probably 3 weeks down the line. Might illuminate itself obviously earlier, but they're all doing really good things. And so, that's the one position we're probably not quite, we're still quite unsettled on that in kicker.
Kicking needs to be good today. Something is just incredible. I smell their pork chops here. I smell their steaks here. Folks are having plates brought out here as it's lunchtime here at the Single Barrel. I am starting to foam at the mouth, Sharpie and Kranek and Elijah, as it is burgers. I mean, the wafting in the air as well with the tailgates and the grills going. Pretty awesome. That adjustment period, I'm having to adjust right now that I can't just go feed my face. That's fine. When we talk about Nebraska and the adjustment, guys, Nebraska, or you in this camp, either growing up or watching the Big Red, where you just took for granted, assumed that, all right, 9 wins, death taxes, 9 wins. I mean, it's been an adjustment for a while with Nebraska football. Did you take winning for granted? Has that stopped now? Do you know Nebraska fans that, all right, they don't know how it's going to go because there's been so many train wrecks?
Well, I think didn't all we were in a mode of you just expect Nebraska to win?
Like today against a UTEP, it shouldn't be an issue. It's 27.5 points. Vegas says you should win by 4 touchdowns. Nebraska fans of old say, yeah, it's a 42-10 thrashing. But there's been more of these missteps, Kranek, over the years. I don't expect that today. I'm not worried about today. But overall, it's gone sideways for you because teams that you're, air quote, superior than because of your helmet and that red N, it hasn't mattered anymore. It hasn't mattered the last several years in league play. I mean, it's time to pour a drink and celebrate because you beat Purdue.
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest
it's a new world.
Well, the biggest difference, I think, conference-wise and competition-wise is Big 8, Big 12 days, to me, was really top-heavy. And then, the bad teams were really pretty bad teams, right? I just feel like in the Big 10, you have such a strong middle. There really isn't that the equivalent of like 1989 Iowa State, right? Or even the 1987 Kansas or something like that, that were just god awful, right? Just god awful programs.
There's no K-State or KU pre-Snyder and pre-Glenn Mason. You're right. There's no off week.
There's none of that. And then Missouri had its share of just really piss poor teams. I mean, just not good at all, right? But the Big Ten's worst team is pretty good. Like, they're not great, but they're pretty good. They're a tough out. I think it's really just Maryland and Rutgers that you have seen get completely bludgeoned in the Big Ten and have been just garbage. Nebraska was actually had one of those years too, of course, with Riley, but you just don't have that. You just have a pretty strong middle to where it's like you get tested every week. Doesn't mean you should lose necessarily, but you're going against a squad that knows how to play a little ball. It's sort of reminds me of like early Bill Snyder years, right? Where, they were a ways away from being a national like competitor in terms of super big bowl games. But, when they started coming up, it was just like, okay, these guys, all right, you got to come ready to play. They're not just going to walk over them. And you see what happened so far in the Big Ten. I mean, Minnesota game aside, PJ Fleck doesn't count, but Illinois, they play Eastern Illinois, I think it was, or Eastern Michigan. I don't know who the hell, but 45-0, you can't pitch a 45-0 game unless you have some mettle, against another Division 1A opponent. And Illinois is not being counted on as some sort of juggernaut this year, or nobody's considering them a threat. But that's your bottom of the conference, and they're capable of winning 45-0, right? So Kansas State, Iowa State back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, weren't beating anybody 45-0 at all, ever.
So let me ask you three, and everybody knows what the spread is for today's game. It's 27.5, and there's the line of good teams win, great teams cover. Let's be honest here. We know what the expectations are this year, and you want to see something today that validates what you think, and it's not just manufactured hype. You want to be able to go, yeah, that they got something there. That looks different. My biggest thing today is I want to watch this team play football, and the same issues that the last time that they turned the scoreboard on Memorial Stadium and played a real game that plagued them against Iowa. I want to be able to watch a game today and go, okay, those aren't there. But with that said, how important is the score today against a team that is coming in here with a lot of newbies? Yes, some unknown, but how important is the score today?
Well, the score will take care of itself. And what I mean by that, if they're crisp and clean and handled on offense, they'll be able to move the ball and score some points. So you had a team that once last year broke 30. Okay. So that's quite a jump to getting 30 every week. But against a team you're more talented than, you should be able to put up a minimum of 35 today. If I'm a Nebraska fan, I think that's fair. And you're right. The validation is important. The substance is as well. I mean, it's pitch and catch. It's running the football. It's getting first downs. It's not committing penalties. It's not brutal turnovers. It's not risking the biscuit, as Mr. Arians like to say. It's not a freshman trying to go and do too much. It's just methodical. Be boring and really good at what you're doing. If that's a 7-yard out to the flat on 3rd and 5, fine, do it. Hand off and murder somebody between the tackles. But no, score will take care of itself.
To me,
if you're figuring it out.
To me, in terms of the season as a whole, does the score matter today? No. What matters today is you get a notch in the win column, and you have a week of film that you can go back to next week and say, all right, here's what we need to clean up before Colorado. It's not like in terms of the grander season, the only thing that matters is getting a win in the win column. I don't care who the opponent is. We watched the past decade of Nebraska football. A win is a win is a win. That's all that matters today. Score doesn't matter for today, for this season. Why the score matters?
Score matters. Can't be tight.
I will tell you this. Internally, they feel really good about this football team.
What?
And if they come out and they're sloppy and UTEP is in this game, and we get to the third quarter, and around the country they're showing the score, and people are going, "Oh, same old Nebraska." I think the staff and guys on this team would be disappointed. Do they take for granted they're going to come in here and blow out UTEP? Hell no. Okay, but to come out and play well, because there's also the mindset this year that it's all about Nebraska. Yeah, you play UTEP, you play Colorado, Northern Iowa, but this whole thing is about Nebraska and being your best self.
You didn't let me. I was getting to why the score does matter in a sense, not for this season. It matters in a sense of shifting the narrative around Nebraska, which I think is important.
Perfect.
It's like when you get to the end of the season, if you're 9-3, that's kind of what my argument was. If you're 9-3, it doesn't matter what the score was against UTEP. But it does matter in terms of shifting the narrative. So the teams like UTEP and Northern Iowa, and name an opponent that you think Nebraska should be beating in a year-in, year-out basis. It's about shifting the narrative so they don't think whenever they see Nebraska on the schedule, that's a winnable game. That's a game we're going to go give it our best effort. It makes your season a lot more difficult when that's the narrative. And shifting the national narrative around Nebraska, which as much as Matt Rule says, like they're not listening to outside noise, that stuff leaks through to the team whenever people are saying same old Nebraska. Like that gets in your head. It's about shifting the narrative. It's not about, hey, the score today is going to affect how you play in November. I don't think it does. Get the win in the win column. But the score matters so you can shift the narrative around Nebraska so people don't say, same old Nebraska watch this past decade.
Great act. Quit being everyone's homecoming scheduling victor, right?
Yeah.
It's the sure thing at last call. Quit being that squad.
John wrote in the stream, you're forgetting the Big Ten suck teams of the 80s, Northwestern, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Purdue. No, totally. But what I'm saying is the college football was very top heavy, and then a bunch of crappy teams in the middle. There was like a small middle. Now I feel like most of college football, especially the Big Ten, is like everybody's kind of good, right? Everybody's kind of good. You just don't have
kind of dangerous.
Yeah, that's because of scholarship limits and the Big Ten money that's come in, and these schools that really didn't care about football that are just flush with cash all of a sudden, and starting to invest a little bit. It's just you don't have the bottom feeders like Nebraska used to in their heyday, and I think that's contributed maybe to some of the, not winning as many as 9 on a consistent basis and sort of taking it for granted. You took it for granted because 3 or 4 of those games were against teams that would only win 0 or 1 or 2 games.
Sure.
You don't have it anymore.
Sharpie, you got something super important on the tip of your tongue. You'll be there in a minute. We gotta step away till hour 2 here. Is it
1 minute if Sharpie?
We have a minute. All right, you got a minute. Ready? Go.
So quickly. What tier, if there's 4 tiers in the Big Ten right now,
penthouse,
let's say there's the Purdue, Illinois tier.
Mm-hmm.
There is let's say 3 tiers, Minnesota, Wisconsin tier. Actually, there's 4 tiers. There's the Oregon, Ohio State tier.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan is kind of in between tier 1 and tier 2 where Penn State is with them. USC, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa, the next tier, and then the rest of the Big Ten is in the 4th tier. Where do you guys think Nebraska is right now? And by the end of the year, what tier should Nebraska be in firmly? Not just scratching the surface, but firmly be in.
They're right now, until they prove otherwise, you're 5-7 until you're not. So they're in the Illinois pool.
So they're in the
they're in the basement. They will be at the Wisconsin, Iowa level by the end of the year, knocking on the door to that Penn State, Michigan level.
Boom.
Well,
plus
get back to the
1 on that.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Make plans to attend Brews at the Zoo Friday, September 6th. Enjoy an evening of food, craft beer, and music at the Lincoln Children's Zoo. There's going to be plenty of hops to go around featuring brews from Zipline, White Elm, Empyrean Ales, Code Beer Company, Glacial Till, Stone Hollow, Thunderhead, and more. Plus live music from AM/FM. Brews at the Zoo, Friday, September 6th from 6 to 11 p.m. Find Brews at the Zoo at lincolnzoo.org for more info and to buy tickets.
Do you feel like it's almost impossible to lose weight on your own? Hi, this is Dr. K with Lincoln Weight Loss, and we know the secret to losing weight and keeping it off long-term without drugs or injections. At Lincoln Weight Loss, many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two with our support staff and accountability. And we do that without prepackaged meals, no exercising, no hormones, no injections, drugs, or surgery. Go to LincolnWeightLoss.com to schedule your free consultation.
Hey, it's Schmitty here. By now, you know I'm a real believer in Lincoln Weight Loss. How could I not be? What is so awesome is the natural energy I have now. It keeps me motivated to stick with the plan. I highly encourage you to check them out. To learn about this great program, go to LincolnWeightLoss.com to schedule your free consultation. Their staff will walk you through the entire program, talk about your health goals, and see if it's a good fit for you. Call 402-520-8170 or go to LincolnWeightLoss.com.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We're going abroad for the first time in years to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Back on a Tuesday with KFOR, Schmidt and Carroll.
We'll revisit Saturday's game and get ready for Colorado with touchdown trivia. Both candidates on the campaign trail over the weekend, highlights, and we're getting ready for the presidential debate.
Talk to you at 6 on KFOR, KFORnow.com.
From
Will you marry me?
to
I do.
There's a lot of planning. And as a business that helps a happy couple create their dream wedding, you can make their journey easy. Reserve a booth at the Lincoln Wedding and Celebration Show, Sunday, January 12th at the Cornhusker Marriott, downtown Lincoln. This event makes planning, finding inspiration, and collecting ideas for the big day simple because it's all in one place. Contact Alpha Media to reserve a booth at the Lincoln Wedding and Celebration Show.
Go to KFORnow.com.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Bill talks about his experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
We had 2 bathrooms. It was from the 1950s. We didn't know what to expect. We were a little skeptical that they could actually do this in that short a period of time. They did an amazing job. Brand new tub, shower, toilet, sinks, cabinetry, flooring, tile, you name it.
Were you happy with the finished product?
Very impressive, and we're just anxious to show it off to people now.
So you'd recommend 3-Day Kitchen and Bath?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we can probably get a few more miles out of our kitchen, but when the time comes to do that, we'll definitely call them back.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy. Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The temporary pause in fighting has begun in Gaza, all to help facilitate polio vaccinations for children after months of war. It comes as Israel launched new airstrikes in central Gaza recently and is carrying out more raids in the occupied West Bank. The IDF says they're targeting Palestinian militants there. ABC's Britt Clinton is in Jerusalem.
Another grim day in Gaza. 61 people have been killed since dawn, and it's now 4 days since the IDF launched its major operations in the West Bank. We've experienced some of that destruction. We know that a top Hamas commander was killed in Jenin, which is now sealed off as intense fighting there does continue.
The economy and reproductive rights among the top issues for voters this election year. Presidential candidates are focusing their message in battleground states that could help decide the race. ABC's M. Nguyen has more.
Abortion rights we knew was going to be a big issue this campaign, as it was in 2020. What was a little bit more unexpected is that specifically for IVF, it's playing also a very big role in this campaign. With former President Donald Trump, he now is proposing for IVF to be free for women under his administration, although he is still not able to answer many outstanding questions, such as how it's going to be paid for or whether same-sex couples will also have access to this free IVF under his administration.
The FDA Friday authorized the updated protein-based COVID vaccine from Novavax. Last week, the agency also authorized those mRNA COVID vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna to protect against the latest variants. Fans are mourning the death of Fat Man Scoop. His real name, Isaac Freeman III. The rapper's family in a post say he died Friday night. A video circulated online appears to show him collapse during a performance in Connecticut. He was taken to the hospital for an unknown medical emergency. You're listening to ABC News. Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects, but you got the idea. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
Gotta be fresh. At participating U.S. Wendy's.
Macy's Labor Day sale is going on now with limited time end of summer specials like great deals on back to school looks. And shop our lowest prices of the season on furniture, mattresses, and more 15 to 65% off. Or use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 20% off even more great deals. Star Rewards members can earn faster during Star Money bonus days at Macy's. Details at Macy's.com/Star Money. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Nebraska Secretary of State provides updates on remaining petitions. I'm Jeff Brighton, KFOR News. Secretary of State Bob Evnen says the signatures of the 3 petitions are nearing the end of the verification process by county election offices. In a news release to KFOR News, Public Information Officer Jackie Oreda said the 3 remaining initiative and referendum petitions include Nebraska Medical Cannabis Patient Protection Initiative petition, Nebraska Medical Cannabis Regulation Initiative petition, and Private Education Scholarship Partial Referendum. The 3 petitions have met the 100% signature threshold required for verification and certification and will qualify for the general election ballot once verification and certification have been completed. Northbound 56th Street at Layton Avenue will close beginning Wednesday, September 4th to continue work on a Lincoln on the Move street improvement project. This work is scheduled to be completed by September 13th. Jeff Brighton, KFOR News.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. And now save 40% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add an adjustable base. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Get big deals for days at Target's long weekend sale. Let's go. Like 20% off denim, tees, dresses, and shoes for the family. Then round out your barbecue with Doritos and Ruffles party-sized chips. They're on sale 2 for $7. Or get 30% off 12 packs of soda when you buy 3 with Target Circle. And save even more. Find new lower prices on many grocery and household items you love today and every day. Target's long weekend sale ends Monday. Restrictions apply.
I love it. Hi, this is Jason Ball, President and CEO of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. I want to tell you briefly about a new business in collaboration with the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development. CareerPathway.com is a website that gives employers a new way to look for talent to fill jobs and information to students about career opportunities and training. This tool was created by local entrepreneur Bo Jones and is now available for free for students and employers. It's not just a job search site. CareerPathway.com helps companies share real-world career knowledge with students and job seekers to find their path to success. This partnership has been supported by the City of Lincoln, Lincoln Public Schools, Southeast Community College, and the American Job Center of Lancaster and Saunders counties, and many local Lincoln businesses. For more information for job seekers or for
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. We're here at the Single Barrel. It's Hail Varsity Weekend Edition. Can find us on YouTube, Hail Varsity. YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio. Twitter, Chris Schmidt, Mark Kradak, and Elijah Herbal, the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp with us. We welcome in Brandon Vogel from Counterread, counterread.com. Vogue's virtual hug, my friend. Or we'll just video-wise fake the fist pound as it is another college football season. Bud, good to spend time with you. How are you?
I'm doing great because it is another college football season. It's here. Enjoying gawking at all the other teams as we wait for Nebraska to officially kick things off, and then we can gawk at them.
We can gawk at Iowa a little bit. Their offense isn't a lot of fun. Georgia in a bare knuckle bar fight, my friend, and it's freshman day on 10th and Vine.
It is. I am currently staring mouth agape at some of these Iowa numbers. I mean, not that they're that surprising, but that said, I'm a little bit cautious because Nebraska's offense was kind of identical to what Iowa was a year ago. So until we see different from that group, maybe be a little bit careful how much Schadenfreude you indulge in here.
They are currently up 12-0, by the way, on Illinois State. Illinois State has 105 total yards. Iowa has 207, and 10 minutes left to go in the third. So there you go. There you go.
I love that. Vogues, what do you envision for Nebraska's? We'll start with offense today. Vegas says 27.5. That's great. You've got a new quarterback. You have some running backs they're trying to sort through. And then the Ray Finkel fear that is permeated through a lot of Husker Nation. One hell of a model American.
Yeah, but based on my prediction for the game, I wouldn't have Nebraska covering in this game, but it's in range where, with lines this big, you get to fourth quarter scenarios, like it could go one way or the other. So I wouldn't be shocked if they did. I think we'll see a much improved offense. I think we'll see a crisper offense. I mean, the big concern for me is at tackle, you've got two guys who have played football, and that's kind of it. And if something were to happen there, you'd have to move some people around potentially, or you just go with some of the young guys that you've been getting ready for that spot. And it's relative to the team itself, but I think the D line for UTEP is maybe its strongest group on that side. They've got a legitimate pass rusher, so I think that's kind of an area where negative plays are a good way to keep points off the board. If Nebraska were to struggle a little bit, that's probably how it happens.
Brandon Vogel with us on the weekend edition as we get ready for Nebraska and UTEP. So a couple of changes this year. Nebraska's moving to the different sideline. Okay, cool. You can use tablets on the field now. The coaches can have like 10, 12 tablets, something like that, to diagnose plays. You have more on-field coaching. But you also have the helmet stuff going on. You have the helmet communication going on between quarterback and coaches. Do we expect that to make a big difference. Does that give Nebraska's offense or offenses in general an advantage? I know the defenses also get the headset stuff too. Now, how do you expect that to like actually impact play? Like, what is the point of both of them now having that ability?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see a big impact defensively. I mean, defense is basically reacting to what you're seeing anyway, and if they cut that off, well, they do cut that off at 15 seconds on the play clock. So I don't think it'll be a big deal there. When you think about having a true freshman quarterback making his first college start, though, probably good to be able to have a direct line to the OC. I mean, it would have helped last year too when, Heinrich Harburg, while not a true freshman, was basically in the same situation. So I would expect things to be a little bit crisper offensively. It'll be interesting to see if we notice, like nationally, we get deeper into the season, if we'll see any impact that in-helmet communication has had. Because, I mean, that's the biggest change to me of those that you mentioned. Being able to converse directly with a guy who you're expecting to do the most things is a pretty big change.
Brandon Vogel with us here, a weekend edition of Hail Varsity Radio, getting you geared up for Nebraska and UTEP as we welcome Chris Schmidt, Gary Sharp back to the show. And Brandon, as you look at this afternoon's game, I asked the question back in our first hour, our stream-only segment, like, what's the thing that keeps you up at night before this first game, specifically regarding
Rudy,
this Nebraska team? Like, as you forecast this game, I'm going to let that one slide. What is the thing that is like keeping you up at night regarding this Husker football team? Like, what could go wrong as you forecast it?
Yeah, I mean, I think with a 28-point line, you've got a lot of wiggle room there. That said, the line's just a projection. So I think the biggest way this game stays uncomfortable the longest for Nebraska is just through the UTEP offense, its ability to use tempo, to use a lot of looks. Nebraska's defense is very good. Its secondary is very good. But they're going to be asked to do a lot today, I think. And it's going to be pretty warm on the field. I think that's a legitimate way if, you kind of neutralize the pass rush by getting the ball out quick, use that tempo and get a lot of short stuff. It's going to be up to Nebraska to tackle. Now, one of the hardest things I think to do in week one is tackle. So you've got to be good and you got to be ready to go out of the gates.
Personnel. Go ahead, Chris. Go.
No, I was just going to say tackling is big. Run game is big. And, I want to go back to kicking. I mean, it would be pretty advantageous to see, I don't know, not that you want punts, fellas, if you're a Nebraska football fan, but see Boom Sheeny reemerge. But also, it'd be a nice day for Alvano or Hole to go 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 in a in doubt situation where you're maybe up 10-0 or 7-0. Your drive stalls, and you got to be converting points. That'll drive coaches nuts if you're not getting 7 instead of 3. But there'll be games you'll take 3, right? And it'll be a difference maker in Big Ten play or against Colorado perhaps next week. So with the kicking standpoint, what do you believe is the true stress level for Rule and company with this kicking situation?
I mean, I think it's legit. Certainly, we've talked about it enough leading up to it. I mean, normally in a game like this, you'd want to see Nebraska end with a score that's a multiple of 7. Like, don't even worry about having to kick field goals. That said, I think given the uncertainty at that spot with where we're at right now, yeah, it's not a bad thing if maybe you get down in the red zone and it's disappointing because a penalty turns a 3rd and 2 into a 3rd and 7 and you end up having to kick. Like, getting 1 or 2 of those is probably important for things going forward, as much as being able to convert all of your red zone opportunities were. So we'll see what we see there. I mean, I think Matt Rule's usually pretty clear with the things that he feels good about. And He hasn't said that much about kicking at this point. And they may not need to be today, but they're going to be soon.
Give me because you are Mr. Numbers and you break it down better than anybody else. Give me a number category that you think early in the season is important to monitor.
I think a simple one early on, I think, will just be completion percentage for Nebraska offensively. Like, let's see if they can get some of the easy throws for Raiola if he's able to make them. I mean, Nebraska was 50% a year ago. Like, you're not gonna win many games that way. Like, usually don't win 5 games that way. So I'll be interested to see where that one's at early on. Yards per pass attempt would be another one. And I think yards per pass attempt defensively, not that there's a lot of concern there. It's just comparatively last year, if you were an opposing offense, you had more room to work against Nebraska through the air than on the ground. Can that change a little bit? So those would be the first 3 that kind of come to mind.
Brandon, while we're talking numbers here, there are some Husker prop bets out there. I'm going to encourage everyone out there to bet responsibly. This is not gambling.
Let's do this. Will start a new.
Some thoughts?
Let's do a new Saturday tradition where we do prop bets. Yes, please.
Okay, let's start with the first one. We've hit a lot this week. The Dylan Raiola passing yards prop. It should note that it's dropped down to 240.5, but I'll skip over that one because we spent enough time talking about it. I do want to get your thoughts. Dylan Raiola rushing yards over under 24.5. This comes from our friends out in the desert.
I'll go under on 24.5.
Going under.
Be down for under.
I'm going over.
Yeah, same.
Just barely. Somewhere in the 30s. I think he's going to have to get out there and extend on some third downs and pick himself up a first down or 2 today. And I think he gets to like 30.
Hey, now, personnel grouping wise, getting back to the offense, like I'm pretty confident Banks, Nayor, and Fedoni are going to be 3 of your top dogs, your top receiving threats, all big guys.
Should we get into their props, Mark?
Yeah. Well,
receiving yards for Nayor set at 40.5. Receiving yards for Jamal Banks set at 55.5. Receiving yards for Thomas Fedoni set at 34.5. We can start with Nayor 40.5.
Over.
I'm going over all 3.
Yeah, same. That's right. Like, and if not, oh my God, what's happening?
The big one for me is Fedoni seems like a lock to go over 34.5.
Well, I don't know. Everybody says that about the tight ends every year.
I think that the question with these props is how much is Nebraska going to be airing it out in this game? That's the great unknown.
I don't foresee like a huge passing number day. You said Raiola was at 240. I'd be under on that. The numbers you just gave me are about 130. I'd probably go. It's tough because with Nayor, he might go over 40 on one catch. I'd go over with him, over with Banks, and under with Fedoni.
I'm taking under on Banks because I don't think he's much of a run after the catch guy. He's
guy.
He's Maurice Purify, right? He's bigger, good receiver, but okay. But personnel wise, though, I'm confident about Banks, Fedoni, and Nayor getting a lot of snaps. I think you could throw Jalen Lloyd in there. I don't know about Bullock. I don't know about Malachi Coleman. I think you have to throw Bonner in there also as one of the guys. But what about kind of that second tier or presumably second tier of guys like Malachi Coleman, like Bullock, who's Nebraska's leading returning receiver? Do those guys get a lot of snaps? Why has it been so quiet for folks like Malachi? Does he figure in?
He injured his groin in camp. That's one thing, right, Vogues? I mean, he's been dinged.
Yeah, he has. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is doing what Nebraska had to do and bringing in ready-made top-line guys. I mean, I think we'll see both Coleman and Bullock. Certainly, how much? I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a fight to get on the field at wide receiver because in addition to the kind of the top 3 that you mentioned, including Fedoni at tight end. Like, I think we'll see a lot of Bonner. I think we'll see a lot of Barney, and I think we'll see a lot of Carter Nelson. So, I mean, how many pass catchers we just list off there? 9 or so. It's a good problem to have, but it's gonna be tough to find snaps consistently, I think, this year at Nebraska. Hopefully it is. It wasn't tough a year ago, and that was an issue.
I think it's a huge development for Nebraska, especially at that position, which I think, take out the quarterback with one guy, but the wide receiver position of the most improved on this roster is that a guy that had 599 snaps last year, and Alex Bullock and Malachi Coleman, even with the injury, started 6 games last year. They are essentially third team, and right now not necessarily in the mix of being in the rotation at wide receiver. I think that says a lot about Nebraska, how they've upgraded that position. And kind of to Brandon's point is there is competition. So the frontline guys are really good, and you don't know that you want to take them off the field. That second level of wide receivers that Nebraska is going to run out there are pretty good. Again, I think this is the deepest wide receiver room Nebraska's had in about a decade. And, in Bo's last couple of years, they were pretty deep at wide receiver. They just needed consistent quarterback play. And I think if you can match those up, boy, you are cooking with peanut oil. I love what they did at wide receiver. So there's no more excuses about, they're young. We don't know what's going to happen. Garrett McGuire has got a lot of weapons there, and they finally got a quarterbacks. But I think that's a good development for Nebraska, that 2 guys like Bullock and Coleman, not to be mean or anything, they can't crack your 1 or 2 spots on the depth chart.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I know Mark mentioned him. I didn't happen to mention him, but Lloyd is definitely in that group. I think Lloyd is going to have a monster season. Maybe not in terms of catches. You brought in other guys to kind of handle that piece of it. But in terms of, he put up insane numbers in 4 games, like unrealistic numbers for over a full season. But that guy's really good.
The least
one quick thing. One quick thing on that. This is another good prop bet. Nebraska last year only had 10 completions that were 30 yards or more. How soon do they surpass that this year?
You could see it within halfway through the month of September. Guys, Vogues, I want to ask you about your column here. We got about 5 minutes before the shot clock expires. We pray that Nebraska does not change their shot in the season opener from the work they've been doing. At Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter, and incredible work, him and Aaron Sorensen with Counterread, counterread.com. I want to talk a little buffs because we'll go full buff next Saturday. But from a Nebraska standpoint, it's in the back of my mind already. I'm interested if it's in the back of your mind. And it kind of goes into your column this week on Counter Read. How soon is now? Well, now is just around the corner from a big game, big moment stage situation. What do you believe about today feeding into all these things that Nebraska fans want? And that's some relevancy and some street cred in big moments against big-time opponents.
Yeah, gotta handle things today. Obviously, not to sound too much like a football coach. I think the baseline successful day for Nebraska for me is for all the people not watching the Nebraska game, you just see the score scroll by on the bottom of the screen. It's not a score that catches your attention. Maybe 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. Kind of slowly builds. We saw a ton of those on Thursday, right? Missouri's blown away Murray State like they should. Arkansas kills Arkansas Pine Bluff. How long has it been since Nebraska's had one of those? Northwestern 2021, maybe. So that if Nebraska can do that, then it really sets up with Colorado's a unique team in today's college football landscape. There's going to be a ton of attention on that game. And I don't think, even if Nebraska plays, close to flawlessly today, it's not going to be enough to wipe away, I think, memories of a Nebraska program that consistently has, in these big moments, not been able to finish the job. It's gotten close a bunch of times, but when the tension is there, it hasn't gone well for Nebraska very often of late. And I think if the Huskers get through today with a win, that's what we're looking at next week. It becomes a lot more about specifics, which it is in this season opener, because we had all summer to talk through those things. And it becomes a little bit more about what are you made of in a game against Colorado.
As we wind it down here, can we go round table here? We have about 2 minutes on the clock. Can we get a prediction in what Nebraska's first offensive play from scrimmage will be today? I saw there was in the chat from David. He's predicting a bubble screen to Carter Nelson. I'm not sure about that one, but it is a good talking point.
I think Sat wants to go full Monty big. I think it's play action, and I think it's a deep shot to Nayor. That's I'd like it to be a handoff between the tackles, but I think it's going to be a deep shot down the field, fellas.
Going shotgun handoff to Emmett Johnson or Dowdell. Let's go Emmett Johnson. No, let's go Dowdell. Let's go handoff to Dowdell up the middle. But at some point on that first drive, Nebraska will take a play action deep shot. I don't think it's first play, but I think it will be within the first 5 or 6 plays.
Kranak?
Single back shotgun counter. We'll go Dowdell, I guess. Apparently he's starting. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about him. But I think it's a run play. Keep it simple. We don't want to start Raiola's first ever play chucking it 60 yards downfield.
Tip drill interception.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody get Mark.
some tequila.
Somebody get Mark a Dowdell jersey.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're gonna have him come visit him and cheer him up.
Oh, jeez.
I will say a crossing route.
Okay.
Hit on the fly, and Banks turns it upfield for 15.
Okay. Vogues, what do you say, bud?
Well, I probably should say counter read, but I think it'll actually be the little RPO that they ran about 20 times in the spring game, where shotgun single back. Technically, you're reading it, but most of the time it ended up being a little Dan Quisenberry style flick out to Thomas Fagoni, 6 yards, 2nd and 4.
The quiz. Counterread.com. Get a subscription to Vogues and Aaron Sorensen. Vogues, appreciate you much. Thank you for coming in, bud.
Thanks, guys. Have a good game day.
Thanks, Brandon.
Benak, be good. Appreciate you. Sharpie, thanks for hanging out. Elijah, appreciate you. We're back for Real Red Reaction immediately following. Find that on YouTube as we'll talk Nebraska and UTEP. Thanks for tuning in to the weekend edition of Hail Varsity here on KFOR.
Enjoy the game.